Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Mike, Glenn, and a special guest today. Good morning.
What's up, my brother?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. You know what? I just starting to think about, listeners. We love our listeners, and we're not like Joe Rogan that has millions. But
and we don't have a staff filtering our emails either. So when you send an email, it actually gets to either Glenn or I.
No, but it's really cool because I love engaging with folks out there. It just it helps me fuel and fill my tank, just hearing about other people's sobriety and their success and
it's
their smiles.
Exciting, isn't it? Because it proves it works,
but
right?
It's great. But if you spend a little bit of time looking at our analytics for our podcast, it's funny. I know you're a builder. Right. You got ADHD. You're a builder. You're a founder. Right. You got great ideas. And normally folks like that, great ideas, flash in the pan, never follow through.
No execution.
But we've done this over 5 years. We have never missed an episode.
No.
We love hearing from listeners. I mean, we don't have listeners. You're part of our family. You're on the sober path with us. We're still trying to figure out who the funny one is.
Yeah, I think it's Paige this morning.
I hope it's Paige.
Yeah.
So I just want to say thanks, man. You're always... it's just amazing. I didn't think you would stick with this, and every year, your contrast gets pickier and pickier.
And the whole goal is just to help one person who maybe is sober curious. Maybe they're out there the first 30 days, 90 days. Maybe they're just thinking about it. Maybe they've got 10 years of sobriety. If we can help somebody today, that's it. I mean, that's all. That's all it's about.
So I think that's what our guest is all about too.
It is indeed. Hey, Paige.
Hi, Paige. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I wish everybody could see her smile.
Yeah.
That's all I would wish right now.
Yeah, and check this out. I just practiced, right? So it's Paige Calentino.
Perfect.
All right, good. I did it right. I was asking her before we went live how to pronounce it. I'm like, it's pretty simple.
You're such a winner.
Yeah, and it's not Irish, so you got a little Italian going there, Paige?
Yes, I'm Italian.
All right. Will you talk with your hands? This is we just use the audio here, but I'm certain there'll be a lot of motions with your hands here, right?
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. So welcome aboard, and super happy to have you.
We are connected with Paige in social media.
Yeah, social media, right?
Yep, somewhere out there. Yep.
Yeah, and Paige you're a sober, curious life coach. So I love that. I actually this week there was a news story on Top of the Fold for one of these websites. I check them all out, and one of these websites, and they talked about the sober, curious movement affecting the liquor sales to in staggering amounts. It's crazy that people are turning away from alcohol. I don't know what they're turning to. That's a point of another conversation. But the fact is they're turning away from this toxin, this terrible drug of alcohol. So, and you're right on the front lines, Paige. So
yes, I am.
What brought you to the front lines?
Oh my gosh, it's been a journey for sure. I was a really big party girl in my early 20s. I was the one who was always shutting down the bar. I was binge drinking every single weekend. That was my default way to go out and have fun with friends. And I dabbled in recreational drugs. I was going to music festivals all the time. And it was really just the lifestyle and the party culture that I was drawn to, because that's what I thought was cool at the time. And I really just started feeling so disconnected from myself and so depleted. I was working at a really high intensity job in management consulting. I was working 60 to 80 hours a week. And then I would just turn around on the weekend and binge drink.
Work hard, play hard. Right? Work hard, play hard.
Yeah, work hard, play hard was definitely my motto. And I just was feeling like something had to change, because I didn't necessarily have a rock bottom moment. It was more of waking up feeling hungover for 3 days in a row, every single week for years on end, and just becoming so sick and tired of that. And I found myself in a place where like I said, I was very disconnected from myself and my own intuition. And I was in a horrible relationship at the time with a man who was extremely abusive emotionally. He was very toxic and really manipulative. So for me, I started to see how my reality around me was not matching what I saw for my life in my head. And that was like the biggest wake up call for me is I realized I was not being the person that I wanted to be or that I had envisioned for my future. So I started to take a deeper look at my patterns and my habits. And I started with a 1 month break, just as simple as that. It was like a dry January, I think. This is about, I don't know, almost 8 years ago at this point. And
Wow, that's great.
I really loved the person that I became during that month. I just like had different priorities. I was taking care of myself better. And I could start to feel that like self-trust build and start to come back.
Question for you. That first dry
Yeah.
January, did you get rid of the baggage? Did you get rid of the boy?
No, that
Okay.
was still when we were together.
Okay,
Mhm.
I'll be quiet and wait for that part of the story.
No, you're absolutely good. So
He
yeah,
might
we
still
just
be there, Mikey.
Yeah, he might still be there, right? My bad.
no, absolutely not. No, no, no. But yeah, I had that first experience, and I really felt something start to come back and start to click for me. And so I did that about twice when I was still in that relationship, and eventually things fell apart as toxic relationships often do. And I found out that he was in another relationship at the same time as me. It was absolutely devastating. So we had lived together at the time, and I was sure that I was going to marry him and he was going to be the person for me. So that was devastating. I felt like I just had my heart blown to smithereens, and that became the opportunity for me to start to pick up those pieces and figure out what I actually wanted for my own life and decouple from him. Because really all of my adult life, I didn't know who I was without him by my side. So it gave me this opportunity and kind of this fresh start. And that's where things really started to pick up steam.
So at what point? Do you kind of did the dry January, kind of went back, kind of did another dry January, whatever month it was, and then you came back. At what point did you grab on to this abstinence program? At what point when was your last drink, I guess is my question.
Yeah, my last drink was over 3.5 years ago at this point.
Wow.
It was Christmas Day, actually, 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at this point where I had been cutting back pretty consistently. I was trying to not drink as much. I was trying not to do binge drinking anymore, especially. I had done enough 1 month challenges. I had probably done like 5 or 6 months at that point at different times throughout a few years.
Mm-hmm.
And I had gone to a point where I was like, okay, I'm only going to drink at special occasions.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had limited it to like birthdays, weddings, bachelorette parties, holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I tried to do that, I would end up drinking way more than I planned and just completely blowing it out of proportion. Mm-hmm. And that kept happening over and over and over. And finally, this last time that was on Christmas Day, I figured, oh, it's Christmas Day. Of course, I'm going to have some champagne. Like my family has champagne out. Like, yeah, I'm going to treat myself. And the night completely got away from me. I ended that night totally blacked out, didn't know what I said, didn't know what I did. And I woke up the next morning with just the worst pit in my stomach, just feeling so much shame about not only my drinking behaviors and going to the point of blackout at a family holiday, but on top of that, it was the shame of not being able to overcome this, because I had been working on it at that point for 4 years, trying to limit myself. And I was feeling defeated, like, oh my gosh, why can I not just get the hang of this? I don't understand, like, what is wrong with me not being able to moderate. And that's when I took a hard look at myself in the mirror and I said, okay, what's been the pattern here? I've been allowing myself to try to moderate. I've been slipping up every single time. And I've only done these 1 month breaks. So what if I give myself a real shot at trying this by taking a full 3 months off and just see what shifts? So it was at that point, I started a challenge that lasted a full 3 months. I didn't drink the entire time. And about halfway through, I realized like, I don't think alcohol is serving me anymore. I really don't want to go back. I don't want to lose this feeling and this like self-trust and this version of myself that I've been showing up as. Like, I don't want to lose her. And ever since then, I haven't had a drink.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, that's great.
It is. It is.
So
awesome.
how have you? What's the path look like from going there? If you could just kind of highlight what you do today and who you do it for, and how'd you get from that point? I mean,
to 3.5 years without a struggle, or how are you combating? I mean, do you still get the urges?
Yeah, I've had a few urges. I would say it's more tied to high stressful or emotional experiences for me. I don't get urges anymore for like social settings or things like that, which I did definitely get in the early days. Probably the first year it took me to really get my feet on the ground. And I felt like the first year it was hard because a lot of my relationships changed because I had a lot of party friends from my previous life. And I had to figure out like what I wanted my life to look like going forward. So I did seclude a little bit, and I talk about this a lot with my clients. Like sometimes you just have to protect your peace and you go into this hermit phase where maybe you don't go to the party. Maybe you do stay home and do some self-care instead, and doing that until I could really be confident in my sobriety and show up in these different circumstances and venues where I knew that I wasn't going to drink. That definitely took a while. It took probably a year.
So one of the things I pointed out that I wrote down, I made a couple notes here to bring up. When I started on the sober path, it was an inside job. It was what I had to do with me. But then I quickly, people pointed out, and this came to mind when you were talking about your toxic relationship. I was in a toxic relationship, and I had a therapist and my sponsor said, Glenn, you stay in that relationship, you will never get sober. You will never have a quality life. I mean, and so I did I read this book, Never Go Back by Dr. Henry Cloud. And it's like, look, you're going to have your life for 6 months is going to suck, be the suckiest 6 months ever. But you're going to come out of this with an amazing new life. And I'm like, I believed him. I had trust in him. And actually I met him by chance one day. And I went up to him, I'm like, hey, by the way, your book didn't work. You said it would happen in 6 months. It happened in 5. But getting that toxic, and that reminds me, Paige, I think of the Ferris wheel. That's kind of think of how I think of life. Sometimes I'm on the top, sometimes on the bottom. It always moves. But I got a big, sexy Ferris wheel in my office, blue background and gold Ferris wheel. And the cars are big. They're about 8 or 10 people can sit in each car. And what that hits with me is what we're talking about. It's very important who is in that car with you, on the path on the sober life. And what I realized is, I had to throw some people out to put the right people in. And I really am aware today, are you good for me or are you toxic? And I am very protective. Paige, I love how you protect your peace. I'm very protective. And I'm like, out, right? So I love that. So how did you go from, okay, I'm going to do this forever, to actually diving in and being a coach? What did you learn? Typically, when somebody's a coach, you've learned something, you figured something out. You've found a lot of value, and now you want to share it and serve others with that message. So, what did you learn along the way that you felt was of value to now spread to others? What does that look like? And then what does it look like to, from the sober coach standpoint?
Yeah, I felt like I had figured out the world's best kept secret with sobriety. So many parts of my life just started to fall into place after I decided to make that choice for myself. Because not only did my physical health improve, like the sober glow up that we hear about, my skin got better, I leaned out, I just felt better in my body, I felt more confident, but my mental health completely changed. I no longer felt anxious every weekend. I felt like I had stable emotional world. I felt like I could show up as someone that could be trusted, not only for myself, but for other people. And that makes a world of difference when it comes to every single other part of your life. When you have that internal self-trust, that was the biggest thing that it taught me. And then outside of that, I was dating at the time, and I attracted my absolute dream partner throughout that time of the first year that I was sober. And I realized, wow, dating sober is so much better. It is so much easier because you're able to really tune into other people's energy. You're able to notice and remember the conversations with very specific detail. And you're more easily able to identify who's a no and move on to find your yes. So that was another huge unlock for me. And then outside of that, I freed up so much time in my life. Because like I said, I was working a very intense job. I didn't have much time for anything else other than work and partying. But once I took the partying out of the equation, I had all this time. And I also found a job that wasn't working me to death. So that was good. But I had so much more time to focus on things that really lit me up. And that's where I started toying with different hobbies and passions. And I got certified in scuba diving. So I love to do that now. I started doing crafts like vision boarding. I went back to school and got my master's degree. I just had all this newfound time and all these other cool, exciting things that were making my life so rich and so wonderful. And I felt like I had just opened up this new portal to all these other dimensions of life that I could have rather than these two things, working and partying. And so with all of that, I knew that I had found my purpose. My purpose is to give back to other people who are on this path, because I went through everything that I went through so that I could learn those lessons and now be the messenger for that information for other people and be the guide along the path for people who are in similar situations that I was, who don't necessarily fit into other programs or other molds that are out there. Maybe they don't feel like they want to go down the path of going to AA, or maybe it's intimidating to them. People who really just want that guidance and support in a coaching container, like I really wish that I had. And that's why I do it, because it took me, like I said, years of cutting back. It took me in total like 4 years to get to a point from being sober curious to fully sober. And so now I've created this container where I can help women get there in 3 months. And that's been absolutely phenomenal to witness.
All right. So question. I have a couple questions here. Number one, did you ever do the AA program?
I didn't, no.
Okay. So in AA, like I have a sober coach, and his name's Timmy. And I call him. In AA we have sponsors, right? That's kind of, but I use him as my sober coach, and I have a therapist, who is my life coach, right? And so what I'm envisioning here is kind of could be a combination of both, right? Maybe. What is your master's in?
My master's is in change management.
Okay, so that's definitely coach or oriented. So okay, so what does an engagement look like? You say 3 months. I mean, I'm on the slow train. I mean, I would love to do all this. So talk to me what it's like. Talk to me, like, let's just outline what an engagement looks like. What does the 3 months look like?
Yeah, so the 3 months consists of weekly sessions. So we'll meet once a week.
One-on-one or groups?
What was that?
One-on-one or groups?
Oh, it's one-on-one.
Okay.
I do group challenges as well, but those are every few months. So during the one-on-one container, we meet once a week for an hour, and we go really deep into some different coaching modalities. So I was actually certified as a life coach. I also have different certificates for somatic practices. So I blend a few things. I do education. We talk a lot about neuroscience, and then we have the somatics and energetic level. So we do EFT tapping. I do guided visualizations. I do a little bit of light hypnosis as well. So those sessions can be any mix of that, really digging towards the subconscious to find those limiting beliefs that are holding people back and causing them to want to drink in the first place. So we really go deep in finding the root of why people are drinking. And then we talk a lot about the different societal standards that we've been kind of brainwashed to believe. And we try to implant these new supportive beliefs and then the healthy habits stack on top of that. So we do the sessions every week. I also have a journal that I've created, which is a daily journal where people are able to reflect and do a little bit more of self-discovery outside of our sessions. And they're able to access the subconscious a little bit easier that way when you're just kind of free flowing and writing. I'm a really big proponent of journaling. That was something that helped me tremendously on my own journey, is just externalizing some of the things that are happening in your head so that you can see them reflected back to you on paper, and you can start to realize, like, what are some of the beliefs behind the way that I treat myself and treat alcohol.
Okay, so how many women? And first of all, I did notice it's women only, right? No dudes, Mikey.
Come on now.
No dudes.
What if we want to sign up?
No
Come
dudes.
on.
No dudes.
No dudes. Okay, go ahead.
So what? Well, first of all, quick question: would this program work for dudes if a dude led it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
All right. So how many women have gone through this with you?
I've had over 100 women who I've worked with at this point through my one-on-one coaching, group challenges, and people that I've mentored.
Okay. So I'm going to put you on the spot. What are some of the top 1, 2, or 3 success stories? You don't need to mention her name, but for as I'm watching you speak, I can read the passion, purpose, drive, enthusiasm on your face, right? So I'm assuming you get a lot out of doing this. What are the 1, 2, or 3 top of your wins? And frankly, you probably have 100 out of 100, right? But what are some of the top ones? Paint a picture for somebody. They were in point A and now they're in point D, and here's what it looks like.
Yeah, the first one that comes to mind is a client who came to me, which a lot of people actually do, who have a family who has history of alcoholism. And her mother had recently passed away due to alcoholism. She was in a really rough place, feeling a lot of that grief, a lot of pressure to drink to kind of numb that pain. And she was someone who was similar to me. She was partying a lot on the weekends, and she was relying heavily on alcohol throughout this phase of kind of dealing with the loss of her mother. So she came to me and told me that she wants to be the person who breaks the cycle in her family. She wants to be the one who does not continue passing this down to the next generation, and she just wants it out of her life completely. And we worked together for the 3 months. And by the time we got to the end of the program, she told me that she doesn't even care about alcohol anymore. She doesn't think about it. And in the process, we do a lot of manifestation work as well when it comes to the energy side. Like, I like to do vision boarding with my clients and write these manifestation lists. And she also manifested a dream job offer in the process. And she told me that she doesn't think she would have gotten that offer if she would not have done the work with me, because she really was so vulnerable, went inward, and she allowed herself to really come out of the program as a better version of herself. So that's one that I always think of, because she's just absolutely thriving in life. And I'm just really, really blessed that I crossed paths with her.
That's awesome. So I'm unfortunately the pilot of the plane. We've got so much more to go through. I want to point out a couple things. Number one is we just do audio, right? But the visual here, as Glenn alluded to, you could see the passion in your and the purpose in your face and your mannerisms. So super excited to unpack more of this, but we're going to have to come back next week. But the one thing that jumped out at me is, and I'd like to tackle next week, is you changed everything in your life. You changed the places, the people, and even your profession. I mean, that is big change, and I think that's needed. I went through big change in my first 3 months of of sobriety. You know, I had to change the people, the places, and even my profession. I had to take that pressure off on my profession. I had to take the pressure off in the relationships I had. I had to change where I was going in order for me to realize the better version of me. So I hate to do a hard break here, but can you please come back next week?
I would love to.
All right.
Thank
Awesome, Paige. Thank you so much.
Way to land
Glenn.
the plane, Mikey.
Yeah, right. All right. Next week. We'll really dig in.
Thanks,
all right.
Paige.
Thanks, Paige.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@Sober.Coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.